Happy Monday, everyone. It's John Lorden here with another episode of Case Cracked. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Just a quick reminder before we get started on today's episode, there will be no brain scratch this week. We are celebrating Thanksgiving here in the United States, and if you celebrate it, I hope you have a wonderful time with friends and family. I want to give a very special thank you to Christy Groves for suggesting today's case. It was a really unique thing in terms of researching episodes of Case Cracked. A lot of the research for this channel can be tough in some ways. This is a little bit of a different story, and I'm really happy to share it with you guys. So thank you, Christy, for letting me know about it. I like to call this one, Who is Mary Roberts? 2013. Mary Roberts was a homeless woman that would frequently sleep near the library in Santa Barbara, California. During a stay at a Santa Barbara rescue mission, Mary caught the attention of the director of Homeless Guest Services, Jill Wallerstedt. They developed a friendship, and Jill would take Mary to lunch every week. She soon began learning more about Mary and her situation. She learned that Mary was suffering from severe memory loss, possibly from a traumatic head injury. She couldn't remember her social security number and wasn't even sure if her name was actually Mary Roberts. She often referred to 3 children she could recall, but Jill wasn't sure if Mary was referring to her own children or someone else's. Mary had previously fallen off the pier at Stearns Wharf, and the hospital staff that treated her at Cottage Hospital notified authorities about her vulnerable state. While on the streets, an organization called Doctors Without Walls would treat Mary on a few occasions. Mary's sweet demeanor also grabbed the attention of Officer Keld Hove, who works for the city's Restorative Policing Program, a department that tries to help the homeless find services and get back on their feet. Other local officers would check on Mary frequently to make sure that she was safe. She did occasionally get cited for sleeping in public and trespassing. However, another program known as the Restorative Court Program would intervene on Mary's behalf. Officer Hove collaborated with Restorative Policing Court liaison Maureen Brown and was able to get the district attorney's office to forgive all of her tickets, as well as finding her additional shelter and services. Maureen Brown kept working with Mary, trying to figure out her past and solve the mystery of who she really was. Quote, "We work with a lot of vulnerable people out on the streets. Many of them have sad stories and sad situations. We know they all come from a mom, a dad, a brother. They have somebody they were once tethered to." On March 4th, 2016, Maureen Brown finds a long-term spot for Mary at PATH Homeless Shelter. PATH stands for People Assisting the Homeless and has been serving the homeless community since 1983. They now have 25 locations throughout California and provide services in more than 140 cities. Mary stayed there for a year, and then something happened. She spoke to her case manager, who immediately got in contact with Maureen Brown. Mary had finally remembered her name, Kayanette Gabrielle. Maureen ran the name and found a driver's license. She then checked missing persons records and found a match. Kayanette Gabrielle was originally from Colorado, but her last known address was in Valencia, California, about 80 miles east of Santa Barbara. She was a mother of 3 that went missing at the age of 58, way back in 2006. Her son, Brett Hanlon, was the person that had called in the missing persons report. Detectives worked the case for years, but there was no trace of Kayanette. Her credit cards weren't used, her email showed no activity. The family even tried hiring a private investigator, but no one could locate her. Maureen Brown says, "In the 6 years I've been doing this is the highlight of my entire time working with the police department. This is a story about an entire community keeping this woman safe, taking care of her, not giving up hope, and at the end of it, we have a miracle. It doesn't happen that often." LA County sheriffs were notified and reached out to the family. Within an hour, Kayanette was on the phone with her son, Brett. Her voice was unmistakable. She was very excited and emotional. You could hear in her voice that she was really happy, he said. Soon, in Colorado, Colette Hanlon got a cryptic text message from her brother Brett. "Are you sitting down?" he asked. The following Saturday, Kayannette was reunited with her children Brett, Colette, and Jared. The children also got to meet some of Kayannette's new friends, Jill Wallerstedt from Rescue Mission, Maureen Brown, and Officer Keld Hove. He commented, "When you live on the streets, you become isolated from the rest of the normal world that you used to belong to. She didn't mean to leave it. She fell into this abyss. And to have that human interaction, that human contact with people who don't dismiss you because you haven't brushed your teeth that morning or didn't change your clothes for 4 days, that means a lot to these people, and that's what we do for them." The children say their joy is owed to the people of Santa Barbara. Brett commented, "This is a story about people seeing our mother compassionately and having hope that one day she would be identified and we would have this reunion." They still don't have answers to all their questions, but the children are anxious to share a decade's worth of memories with the mother that they've been missing. "I'm still trying to process it all. It's been a whirlwind," her daughter Colette said. "My brothers and I were extremely shocked, but elated to hear that they found her, and of course, extremely sad she has been living on the streets for most of the time. I thought in my heart that she was alive, and I always held out hope that we would find her." Kayannette told her daughter that she was mugged at a park in northern Oregon, and she woke up 3.5 weeks later at a hospital not knowing who she was. Her attackers had taken her money, identification cards, and her memory. Quote, "I thank all the incredible people that were my guardians, my providers. They did so much for me emotionally, mentally, physically. They lifted my heart, and they always will, and they gave me their hearts. I always felt safe with them and cared for," said Kayannette. She now plans to move in with her daughter, Colette, back in Colorado, where she was born and raised. Her children are helping her get a new ID and enrolled for Social Security and Medicaid. They're also seeking some further medical treatment for her as she's having some difficulty with forming new memories and staying focused. But Kayannette has a lot more in store. She now also has grandchildren to meet, and her father is actually still alive at 91 years old, though the family wants to break the news about her return to him gently. They say her disappearance has been very stressful on him, and he gets confused very easily nowadays. A family is piecing it all back together and moving forward. This is just such an amazing story to me, and it was kind of said in quotes in the story, but I just want to echo how awesome it is that there were so many people willing to take the extra steps, to put in the extra effort to help this woman, and then to have this conclusion to it. I mean, it gives me chills. It's one of the few cases that I've looked into that when I was doing the research, I literally did not want the research to end. I just had this kind of warm, glowing feeling while I was looking into this one, and I still have it, even now, sharing it again with you guys. And I think this is, especially considering this is Thanksgiving week, this is just the perfect story to share with you guys. We have a missing person, missing for a decade, a mother, and her children finally have found her and have time with her again. I also wanted to show my appreciation for some of the big players in this story. So thank you to my supporters via PayPal and Patreon. We have made not one, but 2 donations for this episode. The first one went to Doctors Without Walls. I'll have a link for them in the description box down below so you can learn more about the amazing work that they do, but also to People Assisting the Homeless, or PATH. Both of these organizations really deserve help and really deserve a lot of praise for the amazing work that they do to help people in these situations. So we've made donations to both of them. There's not a ton of detail about the conditions of when she disappeared. I did bump into a few things, but they really just didn't seem to go with the core of the story that I wanted to share with you guys, but that's what these kind of post comments are always for. Her family, it seemed like she had moved to California, like she was looking into some type of spirituality thing. She was actually living at a hotel at the time that she went missing, and her family was not logistically very close to her. I think her daughter was in Northern California, if I remember properly, or maybe even further up the coast. So this isn't the case where, the kids were living in the same place and she went missing and there was an urgency and they knew that something was wrong immediately. There was some time that it took for them to kind of figure out that something's going on. We haven't heard from mom in a long time. They even kind of assumed that maybe she went on a trip. She had been talking about going to Australia once again as part of this kind of spiritual journey. They thought maybe she just kind of up and left for Australia. I also have no information on the father of the children. How does he tie into all this? Was there a separation at some point? I get the feeling that he wasn't still together with Kay Annette when she went missing, but I'm only assuming that based on the small details that we have. But of course, the warm your heart, fuzzy part of the story is all over the place, and I did want to share that with you guys as well. If you want to look into this case more, you can check out the links in the description box. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. If you're celebrating Thanksgiving or not, please come back on Wednesday for a Searchlight. And once again, no brain scratch on Friday. Before I sign off for the day, I just want to thank some people. First of all, a big thank you to PayPal donator Michelle Theory. Thank you so much. As well as new patrons Tyler, Sandy Irving, and Marla K. I can't do it without you guys, and I especially can't do the wonderful types of things like we did with this episode, making two donations to different companies without your support. So that's why it's not really just a donation from me. It's a donation from all of us. Thank you guys so much for letting me do that. I'm thankful for you out there. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you back here on Wednesday on the Lord and Arts channel.